your third step. This is your third step for your WordPress installation. Now, to access the instructions, again, we are looking at, in the left-hand navigation, you are going to click on WordPress install directions. You're going to scroll down, and I'd like you to click on WordPress install step 3. Here you're going to see there's a Word document. Now, these instructions are a lot more in-depth than your instructions for your other steps. These take a little bit more time. Okay, but this is important because what we've done now is it says it's a 5-minute install. It is really not a 5-minute install. Okay, if you get it right the first time, maybe. But one of the objectives of this course is to be able to install WordPress on your own. WordPress is known for its famous 5-minute install. So what I want to do before I go any further is I would like to look at the difference. And one of your labs asks you to evaluate and look at compare and contrast the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. So I want to look at those two. WordPress.com is equivalent to hosting for WordPress.org. WordPress.org is the free open source version of the blogging system that we're going to be using in this class. So here at WordPress.org, I have several different forums and help. You're going to see that I'm constantly referencing this website for help. There's showcase, there's theme ideas, plugins, support. The documentation is an excellent tool for this course. There are some things in the book that maybe don't match up completely 100%. Well, that's because WordPress is constantly changing. WordPress is constantly changing. So the WordPress documentation becomes very important because you may find that things on this website are a little bit easier to understand than what the book is asking you to do. So again, it's one of those, WordPress is a wonderful tool, but it is one of those things that if you're a publisher trying to write things for a software system and a content management system that is constantly changing, it's hard to keep up. Okay, so WordPress.org is your open source. This is where you download the WordPress software and you install it on your own server. WordPress.com is where you create your website, so you use their server space. You're using WordPress's server space, but they install it for you. So this 5-minute install is a little scary for a lot of people. That's why a lot of people will pay web developers to set up the WordPress on their own server. WordPress.com is simply the business side of WordPress. They are hosting. You pay a certain amount each month. They set it up for you. They tech troubleshoot everything for you. For this class, what we're going to do is we're going to be using the WordPress.org portion. Again, because we are wanting to learn the technical side of it so that you would be able to not have to pay WordPress.com, but people could pay you to be able to set up their website. So the first thing that these instructions are going to ask you to do, and I'm going to go to this Word document, is it says download the package. Well, I can click on download, or it'll take me here directly to the download. We are looking at installing download WordPress 4.1. So we're going to come and we're going to download the file. There it is. Okay. So you're going to be given these WordPress files. So when you go to your downloads, you should have something that kind of looks like this WordPress 4.1. All right. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to press Control-C. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to put it actually somewhere else where I can find it a little bit easier, because by default, mine goes to my downloads folder. So I'm copied it. And I'm just going to come over and I'm going to leave it here. Now notice it is a zip folder, so for me to work with it, I must unzip it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose extract all, and I'm going to extract it. Now that's going to take a little bit of time. As you can see, there's a lot of files there. While that is extracting, the next thing I need to do is connect to my FTP service. So to do that, I'm going to go back to FileZilla. We're going to do the same thing that we did in your step 1, except for now I'm going to use the username and password that I created. when I went through and changed my password. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to put your host information in. Again, we put our host. It is case sensitive, webdev.seminolestate.edu. I'm going to put my username. Let's try that again. Student 250. Okay. I'm going to put the password that I changed it to. And then the port is 21. And I'm going to go ahead and press Quick Connect. What should happen is now I should connect. As you can see here on the right-hand side, I have connected to the Seminole State server. I'm going to go into the public HTML folder. Again, we have inside of this folder a publish and a practice folder. All of your labs are going to be in the practice folder. So we're going to start by putting our WordPress installation into the practice folder. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to double click on the practice folder. Now I can see that my WordPress has extracted. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I'm going to locate my WordPress. The one that I extracted will say WordPress. Here it is, 4.1. It will not have the zipper on it. I will double click. I'm going to double click again. I'm going to go to where the level that I can see all of the folders and files. Okay. I'm now going to select the first selection here. I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard, and then I'm going to scroll to the bottom and select all of, or I can also press Control A. I'm going to select every file. The next thing I'm going to do is just simply take from the left and drag to the right. And now you can see everything is transferring over. That's what I want. While that is happening, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to start to work on these set of instructions. I'm going to set up my folders. So here it says, I need to open wp-config.php. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to my WordPress, where my folders are at, under Documents. And I'm going to locate that WordPress folder that I have. I'm looking for the one without the zipper on it. I know it's here. And you guys on your end are probably seeing it right there. Okay, so what I need to do is the instructions are asking me to find WP config sample. So I need to locate that folder, or that, excuse me, that file. Here it is. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to Open With, and I'm going to choose Notepad. Notepad is a text editor, as you can see here, and it lets me move things around. Now, my suggestion, to make it a little easier, do you see how messy this is? My suggestion is that you download a program called Notepad++. It is free, and it is one of the things that you were asked to download for this course. So if you have not done that, pause this video, go out to the web, search for Notepad++, and install that before you go any further, okay? So I'm going to open it up with Notepad++, and you're going to see it's going to look much prettier, right? This is a lot easier to work with. Okay, so the instructions are saying that I need to go through and set up the MySQL settings. So within your MySQL settings, where it says define database name, we are going to set up your database name. Well, according to the instructions, your database name is your student number. So I'm going to simply I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my student number here. Be careful that you are doing this between the single quotes. Don't get rid of those single quotes or it will not work. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 250. Now, the password to my database, this is different. This is in step 2. You were asked to log on to your MySQL database, right? And you were given this funny combination of characters. Well, that is the password that goes here. So where it says your database password, this is a MySQL password. You're going to go ahead and paste it there. So we have our student number, we have the username, and we have the password. We also have to have the name of our database, or where we had talked about where your post, the data within MySQL, where they go? Well, the database name is simply your student number. So that is how you should have it up. You have set up with your student number and your SQL password. Make sure the single quotes are still in place. The next thing you are asked to do is use a salt. So if you simply go down to the instructions, I'm on line 40. I'm going to highlight this URL, and I am going to select that. I'm going to go back to a browser. I'm given all these salt characters. This is for security reasons. Okay, we need this. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to press Control-C, or I'm going to copy it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my WP config file. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see that all of this lines 45 through 52 are there. I'm just going to highlight it all. I'm going to paste it. I'll press Control-V, and there we go. Now, the instructions have asked you to save all these new changes as WP config. So we're going to do that. I'm going to get rid of the sample on it. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save As, and I'm going to call it WP config. Make sure there's no spaces. Get rid of, I had a backspace there. So if you're copying over, always make sure you get rid of those empty characters. So here, I'm saving it in the same location of where this was stored, and I press Save. Now I'm going over to my FTP. I'm going to check, and it looks like I'm still transferring things over. So the transfer of the WordPress files can take a good amount of time. You've got a lot of files in here that you're transferring. Now it just finished. It says directory success listing successful. So what I have to do is, now that I'm inside my practice folder, and inside my practice folder I have brought over these WordPress files, I am going to need to bring over the files I just created, which is a WP config file. So I'm going to go back in. Sometimes you have to go back in and double click on WordPress. And if you're not seeing it, this is what you need to do. You're going to go back to your config file. You're going to go to Save As. Check to make sure where it's being saved. So in my documents, I have this WordPress folder, right? WordPress 4.0. I want to make sure I go into the WordPress folder. Here it is, WP config. Make sure it's labeled right. I press Save. So it's there, but why isn't it appearing on my FTP? Well, sometimes with your FTP, it doesn't refresh. So what I need to do is just kind of jump out of it and then jump back into the folder. And now I see it. There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this WP config folder. I'm going to drag it from the left to the right-hand side. Okay. Now in my steps and my instructions, I am actually down into step 6. So once I've installed everything, I'm going to jump down to step 6. I'm going to highlight it. For this to work in the correct way, it is case sensitive. You must have the practice folder that you created with a lowercase p. You must have the config folder set up correctly. And if it is successfully installed, you will see that something like this is going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and put in my 250. Again, I like to work in Firefox because I don't have the security issues, but you can really work wherever you like. Okay, here is what you should see. Okay, so here you should see this. So where it says site title, you're going to go ahead and set this up yourself. So you may say Rebecca's WordPress. I'm going to go ahead and set up a username. And then I'm going to type the password 2 times. I'm going to go ahead and stick an email in here. And then I'm going to press Install WordPress. It's going to take a little bit of time. And ta-da! It works. Now, I still have my database open on the other end. I want to show you what happens because before we didn't have anything over here, right? When I refresh my database, now I have all of these tables. So WordPress install automatically did this. And this is where all of my content, my post, and all the data that I'm going to be entering into my WordPress would go. Once you have this screen, you will press login. So your login is actually going to be the URL that you see up here. You'll put your username, you'll put your password. So your would be your user number. So let's say you're 212, you would put 212 in there. And you're going to go ahead and log in. And this will be how you access. And when you get to this step, you are ready to start chapter 2. Okay, so everything that I walk through for steps 1, 2, and 3 are really your chapter 1 in your textbook. So at this point, you are now ready to move on to chapter 2. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. As you can see, it is really not a 5-minute install. It takes more time than that, right? So you may have to pause this, go back and forth, and watch this. But it's here to help you. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, everybody, you guys listening to this in the archives, have a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it be, and make sure you're messaging me and asking me for help if you get stuck.